Hello everybody, it is time now for the final 2011 edition of the Blitz, when I pick college football games against the spread and talk a little bit about college football in general. Don't forget, for my prediction on the Oklahoma State game, check out my Bedlam preview on this very webpage. Lots to talk about in the world of college football. We're going to begin with coaching firings. Yes, if this were a boardroom meeting, Donald Trump would have been working overtime saying, "You're fired." At least 5 BCS coaches lost their jobs this past week, including Turner Gill, who was at Kansas for only 2 years. So Turner Gill is out at Kansas, and Dennis Erickson out as head coach at Arizona State after they underachieved this past year. But Erickson will be allowed to coach in the bowl game, as will UCLA's Rick Neuheisel, who finally got the axe. I don't know what took UCLA so long, but he's gone. He will be allowed, however, to coach in the Pac-12 championship game, which will be an absolute slaughter. We'll get into that in a little bit. Pac-12 championship game is, of course, Friday night at Oregon. UCLA's most recent game, did very well. Lost 50-0 to crosstown rival USC. And then Paul Wolf gone at Washington State. That's no surprise at all. And the Illinois Fighting Illini said bye-bye to Ron Zook. By the way, did you know that Illinois became the first team in the history of Division 1A teams to win their first 6 games and lose their last 6 games? That's what Illinois did. And then you could say that the final straw was losing that last game by 20 points to Minnesota. Illinois was a big disappointment after having such high aspirations in the middle of October. So there have been some firings, also some hirings as well. And most notable hire was Urban Meyer. That's right, the guy won at Utah, of course won 2 national titles at Florida. Now he will coach Ohio State next season. The penalties for Ohio State, I've got to imagine, aren't going to be that severe. Otherwise, there's no way Meyer would have come back to coaching. So now he takes over Ohio State, trying to get them back on the winning track. Ohio State, as expected this year, struggled. I don't think we expected them to struggle as much as they did, but Ohio State only won 6 games this past year. They will go to a bowl game. And the good news, if you're a fan of loyalty, Luke Fickell, who is the interim head coach, from what I've heard, will be a part of Urban Meyer's coaching staff. So that softens the blow a little bit. I do, in my opinion, believe that Ohio State's going to be back to winning and winning a bunch, because Urban Meyer is a winner. One of the best coaches I've ever seen in college football. He will have Ohio State competing at a high level again. No mistake about that. Another big hire this past week, Mike Leach. That's right, Mike Leach. Hadn't seen him since the Texas Tech days. Well, he will be the head coach at Washington State. Mike, good luck. Pullman, Washington, not exactly an attractive city. It's not exactly in a metropolis area. It's probably hundreds of miles from anything really populous, hard place to recruit to. It's not to say that Leach can't turn the Cougars around. It wasn't too long ago, as a matter of fact, that Washington State was playing in Rose Bowls, but we will see, because lately Washington State hasn't done anything worth a flip, especially on the defensive side. So Mike Leach, with his offensive mind, will try to get Washington State back into contention, and with the new coaching staff, maybe that defense will improve. They certainly couldn't get any worse. So that's a look at coaches as far as firings as well as hirings. And let's go ahead and talk about my picks from last week. You might know I picked 18 games. That's right, 18. Did quite well. Documented 12-6 against the spread. So for the year, a bit of a cushion. I'm at 67 wins, 59 defeats, and 1 tie. Not too many games to pick from this week because we're in the final regular season week of the season, if you don't count next week's Army-Navy game. So let's go ahead and pick the games, beginning with Thursday night. The Big East, a huge game. West Virginia is at South Florida. West Virginia has to win on Thursday, and they have to have Cincinnati beat UConn for West Virginia to get that BCS bid. That will probably be the case because West Virginia should be ranked higher than Cincy entering Sunday's final BCS standings. West Virginia has to finish with a higher BCS ranking than Cincy, and the funny thing is they have to have Cincinnati win. Otherwise, if Cincinnati loses to UConn, then Louisville would get the BCS bid no matter what West Virginia does. Sounds a little confusing, but bottom line is West Virginia has to win. They will win at South Florida, so give me the Mountaineers minus the 2. South Florida isn't playing for a BCS bid. West Virginia is. So I think Mountaineers will, at least for 2 days, keep hope alive and win in Tampa, Florida against the South Florida Bulls. On Friday, the Pac-12 championship game. Why even play this game? Why even bother? Oregon, 32-point favorites at home against UCLA. We've already mentioned the Bruins got thumped by 50 against USC. And again, the Pac-12 championship game goes to the champion who had the better record. USC should be in this game, but it's prohibited because of probation. So UCLA backed into this game. It will be a long night for the Bruins. Oregon, I normally don't take teams to cover such a large spread, but in this case I'm going to. Oregon to win the Pac-12 and cover that 32-point spread. And then the MAC Championship, Mid-American Conference Championship in Detroit at Ford Field on Friday. Ohio hosting Northern Illinois. Ohio recently has done well against Northern Illinois, winning at least the last 2, even though they haven't played since 2009. Did you know that Ohio has a couple of Norman, Oklahoma players on this roster? Both played at Norman North. Bo Blankenship, as well as the quarterback Tyler Tettleton. I like Frank Solis, the job he's done at Ohio. I look for the Bobcats to win, so give me Ohio plus the 3.5. Northern Illinois is actually favored to win this game. Couple of Big 12 matchups. Texas at Baylor. I'm going to take Baylor to cover the spread because I think RG3 is going to try to end his regular season on a high note. Remember, he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. I know Texas's defense has played well, but I look for Baylor's offense to be just a little too much. Give me the Bears minus 2 over Texas. And then Kansas State at home against Iowa State. Wildcats still have an opportunity to win a share of the Big 12 championship. They'll do it with a 7-2 record and if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State. So I look for Kansas State at home to be too much for the Cyclones. K-State minus the 10.5. And in the Big East, we mentioned earlier, Cincinnati. They need to win. They've got to win on. Saturday to remain in the hunt for the Big East championship. I think they'll get it done. I think they'll beat UConn. So give me Cincy minus the 9. Cincy playing at home. That'll be a big factor. Conference USA Championship, Houston hosting Southern Miss. Houston, no problem. They've already won 12 games, are undefeated. They have to have this win to assure themselves of a BCS bid. I think they get the job done. So Kevin Sumlin and his boys from Houston, I look for the Cougars to win minus the 13 against Southern Miss. And then the ACC Championship, Virginia Tech Clemson. Hokies trying to avenge their only loss of the year. That was earlier in the season to a Clemson team that at that time was playing better. Two teams are going in different directions now. Vodtech is 11-1. Clemson, they're in a slump right now. I look for Vodtech to take advantage of that and cover the 7 points against Clemson. That game being played at Charlotte. And then you have the Big Ten Championship game from Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis. Wisconsin at home against Michigan State. The ground game for the Badgers is going to be too much in this one. Plus, I like the way Wisconsin played their most recent game against Penn State against a good defense. So Wisconsin to win the inaugural Big Ten Championship game, give me Wisconsin minus the 9.5. And finally, the SEC Championship, I look for LSU to do what they've done every week this year, and that is look impressive. Give me LSU minus the 14 over an improved Georgia team, but Georgia's schedule is not near as tough as what LSU's has been, and that'll be a big factor, plus LSU's just that much better. LSU minus the 14, that game being played in Atlanta. That does it for the Blitz. For the results of these games, for my picks, since we won't have another Blitz show for the rest of the year, I will have the results of these picks on my post-game Bedlam show, which will be probably on Sunday. It's been fun picking games this year. How'd you do this year? We'll go over the picks on the post-game OU-OSU show this weekend. Thanks for watching.